Greetings one and all, this is Rhythmworks and welcome to my channel. And today, as part of the Big Up series, the Fight Night Champion edition, I like to present to you someone who I feel honored and privileged to have in my presence right now. Someone who I consider even one of the veteran Fight Night Champion commentators in the whole of YouTube network. Please, I bring to you none other than Gamer Tag Punisher 1564. Welcome, sir.
What's up, man?
Hey, the pleasure and the honor is all mine. I'm really glad that you are here to take part in this series. It's long overdue. I just want to ask you some questions real quick.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, the reason why we're kind of doing the interview this way, because you are an Xbox gamer and I'm a PS3 gamer, and obviously, you know, we can't do it cross platform. So this is how we basically do it. We're Skyping each other and reaching out in the same way still. So
absolutely,
you know. So the first question I'd like to ask you is, when were you introduced to the Fight Night series, and more importantly, which installment was you introduced to?
I mean, introduced to the Fight Night series. I remember when Fight Night 1 came out, and I played that as like a tiny kid. You know what I mean? But Fight Night Round 2 was definitely when I really started getting into it and going ham, you know, knocking dudes out. So definitely it was Fight Night Round 2.
Okay, great stuff. So, I mean, you're more or less the go-to man from Fight Night Round 2 till this present edition. I mean, for me personally, I was introduced to the series from Round 4, so I'm a relative newcomer to the series. Now...
And wait, well, I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I just wanted to clear a few things up. I didn't play Round 4 online at all. So that is one thing. So I know there might be some people out there like, damn, Punisher, like I never seen you on round 4. You know, I didn't play Round 4 at all, and I think Relapse kind of touched base on the reasons why. I mean, it really was just a power slug fest. I mean, it was pretty much like that game, you know, Rock'em Sock'em Robots or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah. I had to pass on that one. I think I might have played one game. I got bodied ridiculously in the first round because I was used to Fight Night Round 2, where the stats of your boxers didn't really make that much of a difference as far as like how you managed the fight. Like you could have been level, I mean, I'm just using an example. You could have been like level 75 and went up against a dude level 85 in Round 2 and still knocked him out. And in Round 4, I don't know if that really was the case, but I do know that I went in like a straight up noob. I was like the lowest level possible, and I went in against a dude like level 98.
Right.
And I mean, he just, you know, I mean, he rocked your boy, and I was like, you know what, this isn't the game for me.
I hear that.
So yeah, I had to make a switch.
I hear that. I mean, for me as well. I mean, I was always in search of the perfect boxing game from a long time. From the Sega days for me, so the Sega Mega Drive days. And I just seem to always come up to arcadey kind of games like Ready to Rumble and Facebreaker and those kind of games. And
Mike Tyson boxing.
Yeah.
What's his name? George Foreman boxing, classic.
And
Punch Out.
Yeah. And for me, those games it just kind of shifted me in a different direction totally. So really, you know, the search kind of stopped from those times. But it wasn't until Fight Night Round 4 when I actually purchased my PS3 and the demo being made available that I basically paid some interest towards it. And I mean, for me, it's like, you know, remember, I'm not a veteran Fight Night series gamer, so for me it's like, you know, my first foray into that particular installment was like, it was mind blowing for me.
Absolutely.
You know, and it was enough to basically get me interested in the game because it looked and felt to a degree like a serious boxing game. And I mean, you know, granted, the online situation was ridiculous. I mean, you know, spamming used to be called hyper punching. Those times, you know.
You're talking about Round 4. Yeah, in round 4 it was called hyper punching.
Yeah, it was called hyper punching those times, and then it just basically just got renamed as spamming. But I mean, like you, my experience of that was pretty pretty catastrophic because everybody chose Tyson. I was fighting in the heavyweight division at that point, you know, and it's like, ding ding, Mike Tyson. Okay, we already know the outcome of this, but you know, but moving swiftly on to Fight Night Champion now. Your introduction to Fight Night Champion, what were the things that, the factors of the game, that really proved to be pros for you?
Oh man, I mean, when the demo came out, I mean, it was definitely mind blowing. I mean, just the graphics of the game alone were just like off the hook, you know what I mean? And they always are. They always are great. They always try to push the graphics over there at EA. You know, like with the Fight Night game. So the graphics were just amazing. But what really took it to the next level, man, was just the knockout replays. I loved them. You know what I mean? I think people know that they've watched my commentaries. You know, if I felt like the person I was fighting was spamming me or whatnot, I'd replay it like a boss. You feel me?
Yeah.
Replay that ass. And I was perfect at like waiting to the last second of the replay to press that, I think it's circle on PlayStation and it's B on Xbox.
Right.
Go ahead and replay that joint again on them. You know? Definitely the replays, man. The customization, I felt like in the game was dramatically improved compared to what it was in the past. I don't remember what it was in round 4, but I do know in round 3, if you had like a certain type of pants on or a certain glove, it would like attribute to your boxing. I always thought that was really corny. The hairstyles, you know, I remember in round 4 as well as 3 and I think 2, you could never get a Caesar haircut. It was always like you were either bald, you had a bush, you had braids, but never like a Caesar. Exactly. I was so happy that they got that Caesar in there. And then just like the colors that you could, you know, put towards your boxers. I'm not sure if Roy Jones was heavyweight in round 4, but I do know that he wasn't. I don't think they had him. I'm pretty sure they didn't have a heavyweight Roy Jones in round 3. So I was happy to see Roy Jones heavyweight, and just the variety of boxers that they had, I felt like was definitely great. And also, I mean, for better or for worse, I liked how in head-to-head, correct me if I'm wrong, you could only fight a heavyweight against a heavyweight. Like, you couldn't fight a heavyweight against a lightweight. And, I mean, I used to like knocking out heavyweights as like a middleweight or whatever, but I felt like for that section, you know, the way people were doing all that ninja picking and all that crazy stuff, I felt like that was cool that you could only do a heavyweight versus heavyweight, but I could be wrong about that. I mean, it's been a minute, and I really didn't play head-to-head, so, sorry.
Well, I mean, you know, that's really good to know. I mean, one of the sticking points for me, I know it might just seem petty, but it was Mike Tyson's haircut. That was just one of the things that kind of really, you know, they didn't get it quite. They didn't get it quite right. You could tell that they were making an effort on it, but they didn't get it quite right. And I think, you know, quite a few people was basically talking about that, and you know, asking them to fix that on the next installment. And they fixed it. Yeah. Yeah, Mike Tyson, he didn't even really look right. I don't remember Mike Tyson really looking proper in round 3. Like, am I right or wrong? Like, was his face not like it didn't really look right, did it? Well, for me, I mean, like I said, I mean, I wasn't really introduced. I didn't really take part in round 3. It was round 4. Oh, I'm sorry, round 4. Yeah, it didn't really look right in round 4. Didn't he look like a creative boxer in round 4? Somewhat. Because I mean, if you look at the comparisons with round 4 and 5, it's kind of weird because round 5. I say round 5. Champion. when Champion came out, when the demo came out, yeah, you know, the images looked very, very grainy, and then when you go back to round 4, the images looked kind of polished to me. Okay. But then, you know, having played it for so long now, it's like you can see that there's more grit. Yeah. With the images of the fighters in Champion than there are in round 4. You look at the fighters in round 4, and they almost look plastic. Yeah, like little toys or something. Yeah. You know, but it's just because of the fact that our eyes were just so used to that at that point. And in comparison to round 3, like they did make leaps and bounds in the graphic department, but then again, you know, it's an old game by all standards now, and
yeah.
You know, but yeah, I mean, in answer to your question, yeah, I mean, you know, Tyson didn't look right to me. I think they were trying to capture him, but but I think because of the fact that they didn't make him that right, I mean, you know, completely right, it made him even more menacing. So for me, it was a case where, you know, okay, I'm gonna get beaten by someone who looks like Tyson, fights like Tyson, but is not quite like Tyson. You know what I mean?
Generic Tyson. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
I mean, other features of the game. I mean, you have things like the champion mode, which obviously is a feature that they included in the game. And what was interesting for me in relation to that was the fact that with all other game types, as it were, they have like a single player mode, and it's a story mode. And for example, Call of Duty and Uncharted, and I mean, I know they're not sports related, but I think EA was trying to follow suit where they would pick up the casual gamer in respect of the champion mode, which was heavily influenced by Rocky, as we all know, and get them interested in that aspect of the game.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the inclusion of champion mode as a single player fixture in the game?
Well, I guess the best way to answer that is to kind of explain how I think it could have been done better.
Right.
For the Fight Night Champion fan, I felt like they should have mixed. They should have combined champion mode and legacy mode together. You know what I mean? As far as like with the cutscenes, and it should have been a custom boxer that was, you know, interacting. Because what was the name of that dude? Andre Bishop.
Andre Bishop, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Andre Bishop was cool and all, but like I wasn't really feeling him as like a person. He was just kind of whack to me. Like I wish it was just me. You know what I'm saying? Like I think in NBA 2K or whatever, it's like when you going through all those press meetings and whatnot, like it's like you're a created guy.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that really resonates with people that play the game more so than another character. You know what I mean? Like I feel like games in general have kind of gone past that point of we really like this character. You know what I'm saying? I feel like now, similar to like Mass Effect 3, it's like we want you to make your own character and kind of like go throughout the game. I feel like that's like where games are at now. But when I analyze it and like when I look back at it, you know, the way I took to it is, you know, this is what they did to please, you know, the video game reviewers, you like IGN, and you know all the more traditional video game outlets, and they did a good job. Or I'm sorry, traditional video game critics, and you know they did a really good job with them, because with them, you know, the game got a 9.0.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's really what it was, but really deep down inside, I really wish they would have made a hybrid of that in Legacy mode, because I really felt like the fights in the game, I mean, it was just a really short game for the one player mode, and I wish I could have had those, you know, 80 fights, you know what I'm saying, instead of it being like, I think it might have been like 11 or like 12 fights you had to go through in that mode. So yeah,
I mean, that's a very interesting point you make, because I mean my experience with the legacy mode and my experience with the champion mode, they like you said, I think they should have basically merged, and I think it would have been a more immersive experience.
Exactly, it'd have been more long term.
Absolutely, if that was the case. Well, I mean, you know, well, obviously you've explained yourself very concisely in relation to all the other modes in one answer. So, my next question to you would be, what were the cons? What were the dislikes of the game? I mean,
oh man!
Before you even say anything, I've got to let the listeners and the viewers know that you have posted quite a few videos in relation to what you would like to see, or basically what you didn't like and what you would like to see implemented, and that is actually one of my questions as well. But there are lengthy answers, and I really don't mind you repeating yourself on this forum. So don't feel any way obligated to shorten anything. But
Okay.
but what was your cons of the game, technical, social, and otherwise?
Ooh, man. Oh, man. Oh. I mean, there's so many of them. Like, it's like you just said, I mean, I got on my channel, I have probably at least 8 videos of me, like, directly talking to the audience. And then combined with that, I have about 4 or maybe 5 gameplay commentaries where I was trying to keep the game from, faulting. But I think to kind of like put it really simply, a lot of the issues with the game had to do with specifically refreshing the block, punch tracking, counter hit windows, and stamina drain. Those are specifically with the game, but I think more than anything, it was the Fight Night Champion forums that ultimately led to the game sort of dying a lot earlier than it should have. I know there's a lot of people that might misinterpret that, but they got to understand that, like, I've been playing this game since day one. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people that are on the forums now, they might not have been there day one. You know what I'm saying? To see how things were going, because all those dudes that I'm talking about on day one are no longer on those forums right now. You know what I'm saying? Like all the dudes that really dragged the game through the dirt and really kind of put out a whole bunch of bogus BS on the forums, those dudes are no longer there. They complained, and now they're over. They're playing another game right now, and they're complaining about that game. So I don't want anyone to take offense to that, but I really do think that the forums definitely did a good job at just dragging the game through the dirt.
Well, let me just politely interrupt as well, and I gotta say, from my experience, because it was really my first time with a video game that I actually participated, quote unquote, in any forum whatsoever. And I must admit, when I first got into the Fight Night forums, I wasn't actively participating in terms of putting messages up and things like that. I was just reading what everyone had to say. I went through every section, Xbox and PS3 discussions, tips and tricks, and the designing your boxes and all that, all the different subjects within the game. And I've got to say that my experience from launch to like at least 8 months from the game's release, it was pretty traumatic, to say the least, because here was a game that it really had the potential to be one of the greatest. What's that? Something buzzing.
Is it still buzzing?
No, it's not buzzing now.
Okay, my bad.
Okay, no worries. I'll just drop in from.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, sorry to interrupt you for a second. I just want to basically, kind of echo towards the point that you just made. I mean, for me, the Fight Night Champion forums was really the first forum I ever really participated in, quote unquote, for any video game. Such was the excitement that I had for the game, and the potential for the game to be probably one of the biggest, if not the best, boxing games on the planet. And obviously with the game coming out, and the little bugs that were in the game that could have been sorted out in such a way where it would have resulted in everyone having to fight sin, as opposed to finding ways to exploit the game. And I think what a lot of people were basically suggesting, they were suggesting ways for certain elements to be relaxed in the game in order for them to utilize and optimize the spamming and the exploits within the game. And not only that as well, it was just the general behavior of the people in the forums. It got pretty disturbing to a point, and I'm thinking, well, all this people are expressing you know, for a video game, you know, and it got to the point where it got personal. It really got personal. Yeah. and it was like so personal that I'm thinking, dang, it's like, you know, people all want to find out where people live and posting up Google Maps of where these players live and stuff. And I'm thinking, that is this what a forum is supposed to be about? And it just really traumatized me to the point where it's like my liking for the game only resulted in me actually playing the game with my chosen friends in my friends list, as opposed to going online, you know, not knowing who I'm gonna basically meet up. So that was basically, you know, my experience of the forums. But please continue.
Yeah. I mean, because you know what happened to the guys on the forums, and really what it was is there was a big drought of knowledge out there. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of people that were new to the game, and they had no prior experience in any fight night. So it's like they're sitting here playing a game for roughly 30 minutes, and there's just one dude that's literally leaving everlast stamps on their forehead the whole entire game. You know what I'm saying? They doing like the whole time their head is just bobbing back, like you think that the dudes are saying yes or something. You know what I'm saying? I mean, these dudes are getting bodied. I mean, game after game, and because. And it's one thing, like when you get knocked out in Fight Night, man, it's not like losing any other game because of how much time you spent getting your ass beat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so these dudes are fueled up, you know, beyond getting fueled up, and they just go online and they have their friends with them that also get bodied, and they're all rallied up and they're talking about, you know, we need to do something to stop this from happening to me. You know what I'm saying? Because that's really what it is. It's like, we need to do something to stop this from happening to me. And the thing was, you know, there were cases, like I would say, there were definitely a lot of cases that were posted up where people really had real concerns that most people understood. But then there were a lot of cases where it would be like, oh, this guy's jab spamming me to the head. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is, if you knew the fundamentals of the game from any of the, well, I wouldn't say round 4, but if you knew the game in round 3 or round 2, then you would know if somebody is throwing 100 jabs to your head, all you have to do is sidestep hook, and that will get a counter, and the dude, you know, it put some serious damage on him if his stamina was low. But see, nobody knew that because, you know, when, like, the circles that I were in, you know, they were kind of coming at me sometimes, and they were just kind of like, yo, like, I don't want you, you know, putting this information on YouTube. So there was a lot of information that really didn't get out. And I think in my last commentary, like, I touched base on that, and I was just basically saying, like, you know, I really wish I would have put out some tutorial videos showing people the fundamentals, because 9 times out of 10, whenever it was a dude talking reckless to me, you know what I'm saying, we would get online, you know, he would get that work, and then, you know, he would be humbled, and I would just be simply telling him, like, yo, the reason you lost that fight is simply because you had no answer for this. You know what I'm saying? And the form, and that's really when the game started really going downhill after the first, I think it was like the first 3 updates were definitely like, the first update was definitely mandatory. Because there was a glitch where all you had to do was like lean back with a counter puncher and then lean forward and body jab, and you would always get a counter. And dudes were like, if you even look at my record in the beginning, I was like, I think I might have been like 47 losses and like 20 wins. Just that one exploit. You know what I'm saying? So the first update was definitely mandatory. The second update, they would have some issues like with perfect block, and they had to get rid of the counter window. But it was like that third update. I'm pretty sure it's about the 3rd or the 4th. See, I get confused because every time they put out an update, there would be like a few days of a different update. And then there would be like the final update, and that would be the update that would carry on for like a few months. But it was like the 3rd or like the 4th. It was somewhere around the 3rd update that everything was right but body jabbing. You know what I'm saying? Like, the body jabbing was the only thing that was off, and it was at that time where everybody else was complaining about fundamentals. You know what I'm saying? People were complaining about, you know, why does this guy keep getting away from me? You know what I mean? What happened to, I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, like, what happened to ring management? Why can't you manage him in the ring? You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, if they were playing heavyweight, then they could have that issue because the guy might have been like 6'8", you know, with like an 8'8" reach. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they're sitting there trying to play the game honest, but because their complaints lack that detail, and because they were so affiliated with dudes that are playing lightweight that just can't cut the ring off, you know what I'm saying? Then all of a sudden EA is like, oh man, we got to do something about movement. So then, you know, once they killed movement, at that point, that was when, I think it was like the 5th update when they really killed movement, and it was all about just damage. And it was pretty much like round 4. That was when I had to kind of step back and, you know, get out of the game. So I don't even know if I answered your question or if I just went off on a rant, but
no, I mean you basically covered it. I mean, for me, it's interesting that you deemed most of the patches most of the patches necessary, because
the early patches.
Yeah, the early patches. I mean, you know, for me, it's like the patches that basically reduce the cuts and the swelling, I personally thought was necessary because, you know, unlike bare knuckle fighting, which was a later addition to the DLC, I think a lot of emphasis was placed upon the damage. I mean, here's an example. When they had the early screenshots of the game, there was a screenshot with Miguel Cotto and Manny Pacquiao, and his face was like beat up, and there was like an outcry from like the Pacquiao fans saying his face will never look like that. it will never look like that, you know, and that is just a travesty. That's just, you know, that's just an audacious travesty against a world champion fighter we know and love so well. And this was like a screenshot, you know what I mean? So when the game actually came out, and you know, it's like, as one person said, everyone was a brawler. When the demo came out, everyone was a brawler. But then when the game properly rolled out, people were basically, you know, you had 2 strands. You had the Sims and you had the spammers. And then all of a sudden you had all kinds of spammers, but the spammers that uses less spam is calling the spammers that uses a lot of spam these spammers, when really
they're all clowns, man. They're all clowns, man. Like, I mean, I used to knock these dudes out and send them messages like, yo, are you seriously going to try to sit there and sidestep uppercut me the whole fight? And they would justify it by saying something stupid like, if the game lets me do it, like, why wouldn't I do it? You know what I'm saying? And I really, dudes are all clowns, man. All of them, man. I really didn't appreciate that at all. It's like, we're here to, I mean, it's like you can't necessarily be mad at them, but at the same time, it's like, I don't want you running around doing a whole bunch of bullshit and then running around like you're nice. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, I mean, this is like the classic instance that happens to everybody in Fight Night. You'll be sitting there in a party, right, with a dude popping off, and he'll be talking about how he used to box, how he's nice with his hands, how he understands boxing. He'll try to run through some tips, giving you in the party. He'll talk to you about how he knows that, you know, something stupid like Miguel Cotto is, you know, the greatest boxer of all time to ever have lived. He could crush Ali. He'll say something dumb like that, and then he'll be like, okay, so you want to fight? And he'll be like, yeah. And then as soon as you fight him, he'll be sitting there body jabbing you all day, trying to talk about how this is real boxing. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like sitting, you know, and you know, you knock those dudes out and then they get quiet, you know what I'm saying? And that was another thing I loved about the game. But I mean, typical situation, man. All those dudes are clowns, man. All those dudes, man.
Well, I appreciate your honesty, and you know, I mean, we've all faced some clowns in our time of playing Fight Night Champion, and I suppose as human beings, you know, they're probably all decent people. But like you said, and like other people have basically suggested, Fight Night Champion just seems to be one of those games that it's an adrenaline-inducing game, and you know, and because it's a combat sports game, it's unlike any other. I mean, UFC, I'm not really feeling that, to be honest with you. So I'm not really an authority to kind of give any opinion. But I think with Fight Night Champion, with boxing games in general, it's the one game when it's like it's 1-on-1, you know, and it's all about skill at the end of the day. So even more so when you have like a mirror fight, when somebody allows you to have a mirror fight, it's all about the skill at the end of the day. Who uses the best skill with that same boxer, you know?
And you know, this is the funny thing about it, and this is why I call them all clowns, because you'll see them like on the forums bigging each other up, like, yo, a win is a win, forget how you had to get it. But when I started playing that game, the absolute best people in that game that had carried the torch and dominated with, I don't want to be like, dominated with me. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna say whatever. Like, you can consider whatever I did as whatever I did, but they know. You know what I'm saying? The dudes that dominated in that game were not the cheese fighters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What was his name? Psycho Diesel. That dude, Frog. Gosh, what was the name of the dude that invited me to the damn gym? Earn Money. You know what I'm saying? Who else, man? Who else can I shout out? Mr. Sid. I think V Skills. I mean, I played him once, and he gave me a straight up game after I kind of like flopped out of retirement for a second. I mean, those dudes they could fight you straight up and still crush you. What was the name of it? Game Bread. He was the first dude that won the EA tournament where they were giving out like $100,000 worth of gifts or whatever, or five. Right. I think he might have won like $10,000 worth of gifts the first time they rolled it out. Game Bread. I mean, those dudes were all straight up fighters, man, and they all crushed all the spamming ass dudes. You know what I'm saying? That's why I call them all clowns, man. I don't care. I mean, at that time when those updates were out, you know what I'm saying, you didn't have to resort to that. So,
and I'm so glad you actually gave a roll call of some of these cats that basically were in the game from day one, and you know, and a lot of the cats you mentioned. I mean, for me, admittedly, I only know of Irv Gotti. It's Irv Gotti.
And you know what? Let me tell you a story about Irv Gotti. When I first, I remember when Irv Gotti first started playing. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, he's definitely a humble guy. I'll be honest about that. And he's part of that new generation on Xbox.
Right.
Oh, I almost forgot. Tito Trinidad. I personally have never played him, but I have been around him and a lot of dudes around him, and he sounds like he really knows his stuff, and he's on top of it. So yeah,
yeah, I've played Tito Trinidad. I played him.
Swifty.
Yeah, Captain Swift. He basically gave me a master class and literally forced me to just take the loss. Take the loss gracefully.
You put that Everlast print on your forehead.
On my forehead, on my cheek, in my chest, in my kidneys, everywhere.
Yo, did he replay the replays on you now?
Oh no, he didn't.
Okay.
He didn't. I didn't give him cause or no reason to do that.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So I take that as a mark of respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I mean, the questions I was gonna kind of ask you, you basically just consolidated them in basically two answers. So, you've already established that, you know, the cats who were playing the game that, you know, you really admired, and you've also touched on what you would basically like to see improved in the game.
Heated Nemesis, I also want to put his name out there. Heated Nemesis, classy dude. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
No worries. No worries, man. No worries. Props are props, man. So basically, what would you like to see in the game? And, you know, I asked this question in earnest in relation to Fight Night, which I doubt will be released on the PS3. It would have to be released on the PS4. There's going to be an announcement made by Sony on the 20th of February. I know you're an Xbox gamer as well, so
yeah.
So usually when one of the big consoles comes out with something, the other console kind of follows suit as well. So so in respect of the Xbox, right?
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that the Xbox 720 is going to come out very soon, and these cats comes to your pad and say, okay, Punisher, right? You are the man. You're the man that we're gonna basically listen to right now. Okay. We've only got a certain amount of machinery, mechanics in the game. We're gonna hook it up and make sure it's 4K ready, 8K ready, so the visuals are tight. What would be the most important thing, you know, as standard to be implemented in the game before we even deal with any patches that you can discuss with us further? The main things.
The main things.
Yeah.
I mean, number one, make sure that the game is able to be updated. Make sure that they're able to update each thing and each factor of the actual fight individually. You know what I mean? Because my theory on the thing is that they were never really able to just adjust one punch. They had to adjust multiple punches because of the way that the code was for the game. That's my personal theory. I don't know. But just make sure that the game is able to be updated, where, you know, you can update one punch specifically. That's number one. Number two, make sure that there's at least a replay feature if there's not a spectating feature, because they need to actually see these games. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because a lot of these developer dudes, they might not necessarily be on a level where they can really get into a fight against like a good player and then see the good player resort to a whole bunch of bum stuff that is overpowered in the game. So they definitely need to do that. Another thing they need to do is you know, bring the fighting class types a little bit more closer to center, so that way when they do update the game, one fighting style won't dominate it. Every single update, there was always a fighting style that dominated it, whether it was the brawler inside fighter category, the outside fighter unorthodox category, or the counter puncher and whatever else they had for counter puncher. It was always one that really dominated so far apart. You know, no matter how they updated the game, one of the classes, so it really messed up the versatility that you could make your boxer. Heavyweight, make sure that all of your boxers are no bigger or smaller than the boxers that you actually have in head-to-head, and that's not counting the Klitschko's. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, in heavyweight, it was kind of a dude 8'8" with an 8'8" reach, and you sitting in the ring, and you 6'2" with an 8'3" reach. You trying to be realistic. You know what I'm saying? Height versus speed. I mean, I did a whole entire video on that. You know, make it so that if your boxer is going to be tall, make it so that there's a little bit of latency with his actual movement. Not so much on the punching, but just the running around the ring. Make sure that movement has a little bit more latency, because there is balance to consider. I mean that's what makes small people so fast and swift with their movement, is that their balance is a lot simpler because their center of gravity is a lot lower to the ground. So make it so that, you know, there's some latency, so that way if I am fighting against a guy that's Mike Tyson size in OWC, he actually has a chance on the inside, so I can't just, you know, run off on him. What else? XP. Now, you know, a lot of people have their thoughts about mine XP, and I mean, the way I kind of looked at it is basically like, you know, if EA has to do that in order to sort of make it so that there can be another fight night, then in that case I can understand that. But on the same note, I really think that boxers, when it comes to leveling up, like, it should be possible, it should be done within 25 fights. It shouldn't take 100 fights for me to get my boxer to a level 90 level, because then by that time your record is so shot, because you don't fought so many level 99s and all that other stuff, that you know, that you know, it's like, who wants to be level 99 with, like, you know, I mean level 91 with you know, 99 losses and 20 wins? Like, nobody wants that. So of course they're going to be put in that dilemma where, damn, I got to buy XP in order to put up a good record. Belts, you know, we got to have multiple belts out there, because, you know, just one belt is like a pipe dream. You know what I'm saying? You got to go through hell and hot water, and then the dudes are glitching the belts, phantom belts so that I can hold multiple belts and belts will still be in circulation. I mean, this is all stuff that I've gone over in my collection of videos with the Hey Dev videos. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I mean, all that stuff definitely needs to be put in there. As far as clothing goes, to make the longevity of the game really, to make the game really have more longevity, and make it so that, to make a customized boxer with a certain set of clothes, he has to do something. OWC, the whole experience in OWC, and this is something I haven't touched base on in my videos, but, when you're a level 1 boxer in OWC, you should only be able to be in, 5-round fights in whack locations, like in the sparring gym. There were a lot of areas in that game that you didn't box in OWC or head to head. Like the sparring gym, I mean, I personally like fighting in the sparring gym. I like the lighting of it and like the sounds in the background. Like, when you're at a low level, you should be fighting in those places. And as you go up in level, the venue should get bigger and larger. You know what I mean? And I feel like that'd be that incentive for boxers to go up in level outside of just the belts. And then just title defenses. With the whole idea of phantom belts, it really makes it so that a player doesn't have to stay online 24 hours. Not really 24 hours, but, a player doesn't have to stay online damn near all day just trying to hold on to his belts. You know what I mean? Give the guys that hold the belts a little bit, a little bit of leniency, and so create phantom belts. And, animations, when you come into the ring, make it so that as I go up in level as a boxer, I can get more animations. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And when I'm done knocking somebody out, I can get more animations. You know what I mean? And really a lot of it, I think I might say this before, but punch tracking, the counter window, and refreshing the block, are really the 3 things that really made, Fight Night Champion kind of die fast. So definitely keep those things in mind.
Let me ask this question real quick. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. One pertains to the block. In comparison to between Champion and Round 4, my experience of the blocking system in Round 4, for me, was very intuitive. I really liked the blocking system in Round 4 because there was 3 things you had to do. You had to maneuver it to block up, block high, block low, and to actually release the block before you could even throw a punch. And with Champion, it was basically an auto block to the point where you can actually punch from the block. I mean, I had a couple of fights only yesterday, and a fighter was basically using that technique. It's like, the animations were so obvious, you can tell that he was basically punching from the block. It was just so tight. So for me, the blocking system in Champion, if it was a choice between the blocking system in Champion and the blocking system in Round 4, no other blocking system is available. That's all you got. That's all you're getting. Which one would you choose?
Oh man, like a lot. In some parties that I go into on Xbox with some of my friends from Fight Night, and I mean, okay, let's look at the blocking system, because a lot of people in Round 4 were talking about, it's something about block flicking or something like that, where you could constantly counter. I mean, dudes looked like they were playing patty cake. Yeah,
it's pump blocking. That's what the technique is.
Well, yeah. It's pump blocking. But for the counter system in Round 4, it was also called pump blocking.
I'm not sure. I mean,
basically, what you could do is you could counter the hell out of people in the later rounds as they got slower, because your counter movement was still fast.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you wanted to counter like a left hook in Round 4 and Round 3, I think also in Round 2 to a degree, you could just press block and then like up right or something like that, and it would make your right hand go up, and if you threw a right hook, it would parry that hook, and then you could punch him back for a counter.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, they had that pump. I mean, that looked like they were playing patty cake or some shit like that. They had that counter system in there. And then, you had the high, you had the low, which was pretty good. And then in Champion, what you got is you got just auto block, and then you got pump blocking where you just keep putting the block back up, so the block is like airtight. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Nothing gets through it. And I think that in round 4, I feel like that blocking system worked for round 4, where it wasn't a lot of space. You know what I'm saying? Where you didn't have to manage your feet as much. But I feel like in order to have fluid ring movement, you do need the auto block system. Maybe a hybrid of the two is the answer, because if you've got a high-low counter system going on with all that ring movement, it would really just slow the game down a lot, because people would just be running all day because they don't want to deal with that shit.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you know, who wants to run up to a dude and just be like high-low? I mean, that's like, you know, that's like playing like a 50-50 game. Like, you know, what is he going to punch? Is he going to throw a high punch? Is he going to throw, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know. So it would really just slow the game down. I really do think that the auto block was definitely a step in the right direction, because when Champion came out and I found out about it, I was like, damn, this game, it makes the game even look a lot better. But I just think that the refresh rate is what the real problem is. Like, I think that no dude should be able to be under pressure, you know, should be under pressure for like a flurry of 5 punches and block all 5 of them shits. You know what I'm saying? Because in real boxing, you can't block 5 straight punches. You got a choice. You either fight the dude off or you get out of there. You know what I'm saying? And the high-low system, it was just real, I don't know, it didn't translate as well to real fighting, because when you actually have your guard up, you have your hands under your chin. You know what I'm saying? So if a dude goes low, you know what I'm saying, you can just, your hands are kind of like in the right spot already. You know what I mean? If he goes high, your hands are in the right spot already. You know what I'm saying? So with the up-down system, it was like your guard was just like way up there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Way down there. And I don't know. It didn't really look right to me. I really like the auto block system. I just think that they need to make it so that, you know, the refresh system doesn't work so flawlessly. I think that it needs to have a like, you know how when you have a stamina meter, or when you're throwing punches, how that shit goes down? I think that a block needs to have a damage meter, and when it takes damage, it goes down. But I don't think that the player should be able to see it. You know what I'm saying? That's
another good point you're making, and I do agree that, you know, that a happy medium can be reached between the two. Now, personally, when I play the game, I don't have my player HUD up at all, because I find myself, when I started playing the game, I was always gauging, and it got to a point where it actually just drew me away from the matter at hand, and I learned to basically to fight without the HUD, to instinctively throw conservative punches and retain the stamina as best way that I can. So I do agree with you that, you know, I think a happy medium can be reached between the two.
Yeah, I mean, the HUD, oh man, the HUD, I don't know about that though. I mean, I like the HUD because it lets me know, where my boxer is at. You know what I'm saying? It lets me know how I need to get into the next round as far as stamina goes. I mean, the damage HUD isn't really as useful as the stamina HUD, but I mean, the stamina HUD is really like something I need to know. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm fighting a certain way, because I need to know how tired my boxer is. Like, if I'm in a real fight, like with a video game, you can't tell how tired you are just by looking at it, really. You know what I'm saying? You need to, so the only way you can really inform you of that is with that HUD. And like, I feel like if I'm tired, I'm not going to really go ham on somebody. I'm going to have to really look for that money shot. You know what I'm saying? Whereas if I got energy, I could do things. And the HUD really is what a lot of the top players kind of base their game upon. You know what I'm saying? When, you know, if you're going into the 5th round with 60% stamina, in those days or whatever, you were done. You know what I'm saying? You can't even knock people out when your stamina is too low. You know what I'm saying? So, but as far as for the blocking, or I guess you could also say the damage, I definitely agree with that. You know, those HUDs aren't really that important.
No, because you know, you're not gonna see something like that in real life, basically.
Yeah, blocking HUD is whack. Like,
yeah,
nah. That right there is a runner's dream. Just to know when their guard is done. Oh man.
Another question I need to ask you.
Yeah.
And it's an either and or question. Buttons and sticks. Now, in round 4, it was a TPS control, and it was basically sticks. Now, you know, the case for the button defense, let's say, would say that, well, you know, to use sticks, you know, the punches don't come out right. They can be misread and what have you, and they don't come out the way they want it to come out. But in my experience, I've seen players use it in the way it's supposed to be used. But then, you know, going into Fight Night Champion with the buttons and the TPS stick controls, basically kind of gave rise to the spamming, in my opinion. And I think that with buttons, I think you need more skill to use the buttons rather than basically rely on the
stick.
No. I meant the other way around. It's like it takes more skill to utilize the sticks than rely on the buttons, because buttons to me just translate into arcade. No matter how you look at it, you know, it just translates that way, because that's the way how boxing games used to be from the Face Breakers, from the Ready to Rumble, you know, those other games. So from EA basically makes a more serious game for dedicated boxing fans, then I don't see the reason why it should be compromised by having buttons, even though a lot of people in the community ask for the buttons. I mean, I might seem like the only person out there that's thinking that, you know, as someone that's coming into the series pretty new. So my question to you is either the buttons or the sticks. Which would you basically utilize?
All right. Well, me personally, I mean, I'm all about the buttons because I know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? The stick is just a little bit too cluttered. And that's just it. You know, the stick is too cluttered. Too much wild stuff happens when you use a stick. You could end up throwing an uppercut and it'll cost you a fight. And it's just inaccurate. You know, it's almost like going into a fight after you took a couple of shots. You know what I'm saying? You know, you just doing stuff like you know what you want to do, but you're not doing it. And in the past, I don't know if it was round 3 or 4. I get those two confused all the time. But I'm pretty sure it was 3, where they tried to make the game dedicated to stick. And that didn't go over too well at all. You know, a lot of people were definitely pissed off about that. So, I mean, the button system is precise. You know what I mean? Jab, hook. I mean, as far as making it feel real, I mean, I guess if Fight Night or whatever, some third-party market wants to make like a real controller, like dedicated for that game, then, you know what I'm saying, I guess that makes sense. But with the way the Xbox controller is now and the PlayStation controller is now, I just don't see the stick really working out for it.
Okay, I hear that.
Just because it's, you know, you got hooks, uppercuts. I mean, maybe if they got rid of like the special attacks. I mean, the one thing that really stands out to me on the stick really is the uppercut, because I remember, I think it was round 3 or 4. It's like you had to pull down diagonally and then like swoop it up on like the left side to get an uppercut. And that movement alone was just like, wow.
Which kind of leads me to my next question.
Okay.
Now, in the either and or situation, you would basically go for the buttons. Now, knowing full well that like uppercuts and those punches need a 2-button operation for that, and with the sticks, it just basically needs a downward motion on the analog.
It needs a full motion, yeah.
Yeah, it needs a downward full motion. So,
I mean, it feels good. I mean, don't get me wrong. It definitely feels nice to, like, it does make you feel a little bit as if you are actually like really beating somebody a little bit more. I know in like Tiger Woods they have a swing system that works on the stick, and I think that's a brilliant system.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, at the same time, I just feel like the controller more so than anything is what kind of limits that system from really being effective, because you might ask, because it's too much room for error. And boxing, you know, you can't afford those errors.
No, I hear that, and you more or less answered the question before I even asked it, because.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
You know, that's very perceptive. You know, so basically, what I was going to basically ask was that, do you use the sticks specifically for uppercuts? And.
Not uppercuts. There was a time where I kind of did mess around with the stick a little bit, because the stick, I always felt like it was a little bit faster than the buttons. I think that might have been something about I don't know, maybe they might developed it in the game or something, that the stick would have that small advantage because of how cluttered it was.
Right.
There was a time where I tried to like flick jabs with the stick a little bit, but when my jabs started coming out as like hooks and straights, I had to cut that out.
Right. Okay. I hear that. And I mean, what I would like to do, I'd like to take the opportunity into letting people know that if you want a real detailed viewpoint in relation to the game and how it stands now and what improvements need to be made, please, by all means, you know, check out Gamertag Punisher 1564's videos on the subject, the Hey Dev videos. They are really, really informative, and you know, it really gets down and dirty into the nuts and bolts of the whole thing. I mean, I've watched those videos countless amount of times.
Absolutely. And you know, the one thing about those videos too, I want a lot of people to know, is that I didn't make those videos by myself. This is what we would talk about in parties, when I was in parties with a lot of the dudes that I mentioned, when I'm in parties with Swifty or Tito Trinidad. Like, this is stuff that we talk about and we put together. You know what I'm saying? This is stuff that people on the forums, the current forums now, that see my video, this is stuff that they talk about too. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want people to think it's like me trying to, you know, put my spin on the game. This is a collected opinion from straight up people, from straight up fighters. You know what I'm saying? And veterans and OGs in the game. You know what I'm saying? Triple OGs.
No, absolutely. I mean, you made that point glaringly obvious in the videos, because you always say it's a group thing, and you know, you shout me out your ideas and what have you. So you know, I don't think anyone will be thinking that in the slightest. I really don't. So my final question to you is social media contacts, gamer friend requests. I mean, let me ask you a question. You don't play Fight Night Champion much now, or at all, do you?
Nah, I might. I was thinking about picking it up because some dudes talking trash, but nah, I haven't been playing it at all.
Okay, well that's a fair comment. But I mean, in future, I mean, obviously you're definitely going to be checking out the next installment of Fight Night, without a doubt.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's just gonna, you know something, that's just gonna be a tide, that's gonna be a tsunami. That's gonna be it's gonna be a tsunami of OGs, new cats, and everyone in between, all up in that game.
And you know, I wanted to say something too, like Mr. Sid, I know you might be seeing this, and somebody's gonna let you know about this. I want to be in Mr. Sid's gym. That's the gym that I want to join, because Mr. Sid, I want to put this out there for everyone. He actually, he took one gym from rank 500 all the way to number 1. And then when he was mad at that, he took another gym from rank 500 all the way back up to like top 5. And
wow.
We're talking about when the game had been out for a minute, and I'm talking about the points were high. So I mean, when it comes to a GM or whatever you call him in the gym, Mr. Sid is the guy. So yeah, Mr. Sid, man, I'm trying to join your gym, bruh.
Yeah, I hear that. Big up to Mr. Sid as well. I mean, for me, I really like the gyms. I think you know, in the latter stages of the game cycle, I think the gyms were very, very underused. You know, and everybody was concentrating on OWC, and then, you know, with all.
Yeah, the gyms, they were just so big. You know what I'm saying? They were so big, and like the only gyms that really stayed up there, I think Pound for Pound was up there. But see, Pound for Pound, they were just recruiting like anybody. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They always kept their gym fully staffed and body jabbing hard. And, you know, they came up with that. I really don't know who's on top right now, but they made such a big jump in the gym system just by exploiting the game really early out and resetting boxers and bottom feeding for a long time. I just feel like the gyms, they're great, but I feel like they were too big, and that's one thing that they need to be downsized to. Like, the gyms need to be downsized to 5 people. 5 to 10 people, man, because 25 people or however many cabin in that.
I think it was 32.
32?
Yeah.
Like full-time job trying to keep all those people, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You know that.
Nobody, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, that is definitely a factor. I'm really looking forward. I've got my fingers and everything else crossed into hoping that, you know, the next installment will take it to a different level. And yeah, in asking the question, I mean, social media contact, how can people basically link you?
Well, my gamer tag, the one that I'm actually playing with right now, is Brian Digitals. I still have the Punisher 1564 account, so you can message either of those. You can message me on YouTube. I mean, yeah, you can message me on YouTube, and that's pretty much that. But outside of that, whatever I said about pound for pound, like I said, I don't know where they're at now. You know what I'm saying? It could be a totally different thing. I'm just speaking on in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? So no discredit to those dudes in there that are holding the gym down now. Who knows? It could be totally different now. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's been informative, enlightening as per usual with all your commentaries and all your interviews. It's like, you know, it's really great listening to someone who, you know, has real passion for the game, even though you don't play the game much anymore, if at all. You know, it's just good to know the people who were basically there from day one and their take on it, and, you know, they're seeing people comings and goings throughout the whole franchise. And I just want to take time to just thank you so much, Punisher, for just taking the time out. You know, it was, I mean, from the moment you basically put a comment on my page in relation to the videos I was doing, that just made my day, bro, for real, man. Because because it's like, it was kind of like it was like a parallel thing, because it was like when you put up all your videos,
yeah,
I was watching them keenly and constantly, you know, and
yeah,
you know, and for someone like me who's just basically just starting my gaming channel just the other day, and to have people like you, and also another dude I'm going to interview in Tokabayo. I mean, both your channels, and, you know, with all the you know, the videos that you basically put up, those really were the videos that gave me a whole lot of knowledge about the game and how to basically, you know, play the game. You know, as straight up sim as you can basically get, you know. So I just want to thank you for that, man.
And thank you, man. I'm glad that you're out here doing this thing, man. I think this thing is great, man. I think it's dope, man. I'm gonna give you a shout out on my page, and, you know, put some links or whatever to your channel, whatever, man, because I want to help you out, because I know where you're at. You know what I'm saying? I was there before I started doing the fight night thing, man. I think that's great, man.
Much appreciated. Well, like I said, thank you very much, Punisher, for taking time out of your day, out of your schedule, out of your, you know, out of your run-ins. You know what I mean? You know, in talking to me, and indeed the Fight Night community, and, you know, the whole community at large. And, you know, I hope to see you in the ring. I know you got that swag going on. You know what I mean? And everything is matching.
Yeah, man. I mean, Fight Night swag daddy. You know what it is, man. And you know, fresh shape ups. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you have everything coordinated, bro. I know, man. I know. They don't pull your Punisher for nothing. So
hey, I'm saying, bro, if you get knocked out, you gotta look good too, dog. You gotta look good. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be bummy getting knocked out. You know what I'm saying? You want them to be like, that was a fly ass dude that just got knocked out. Yo.
Yeah, I learned that lesson from Trinidad a long time ago. But anyway, thank you very much, Punisher, and
no problem, man.
You know, well, definitely we'll see you in the next installment, and, you know, yeah, see you in the ring, bro.
All right, bro.
Peace, man.
Peace.